Today we're going to be doing a lateral flow test for HIV, a self-test. You may have remembered lateral flow tests a lot from the pandemic when they had COVID lateral flow tests. We have this one here, which is a lateral flow test for HIV. The idea is essentially the same, that if you're able to detect a disease such as COVID with a lateral flow test, you should theoretically be able to detect other diseases. And one of those is HIV, and obviously the advantage of this is that if you are concerned about HIV, that you have the ability to do a test within your own home, and you're able to get a result within 15 minutes, which would obviously tell you whether you needed further treatment or not, as the case may be. Fingers crossed for not. So within the test, we have some components here. So, the way to do the test in the first instance is to take it out of the packaging. Now, these tests are extremely sensitive, so you can't have it out of the packaging for more than, I would probably say, an hour tops. So wait until you are actually ready to do the test before you take it out. The first step would be to take the buffer here out of the top and place that into the tube there. The second part would be to take the lance and have it ready. Now, I've washed my hands prior to this, but before this step you would ordinarily need to go and wash them in warm soapy water. So you would take this. I think the best finger to use is always the middle finger. And have the gauze ready as well, because in my experience these do tend to produce quite a bit of blood. Certainly with these particular lancets, I've used them in the past, for blood tests, and they do tend to go pretty deep. So, let's get it ready. So the first drop, you would wipe away. And the second drop that comes out, that's the one that you're going to use. So you would then take that and make sure that it fills up the bottom there of blood. At which point you then put it in here. You're going to hear 3 snaps, at which point it's placed within the buffer, and then you would start to see a result coming through in about the first minute. So we're going to set a timer here, so we can see that at the moment it's 16:16. So our result realistically should be ready by 16:31. And as you can see there, it's already moving up. It's going to display 2 lines. The line at the top, much like your COVID test, would tell us that the test is done and that it's valid. And a line at the bottom would indicate a positive test for HIV. Now it's a case of waiting. So as you can see, it's 16:31. So the results are in. So let's take a quick look at them. So what we see here is, you'll see this line at the top. And this line at the top basically means that the test was successful. So that's the control strip, so that shows that it did actually perform the test and it was successful. Much like COVID, If it was positive, there would have been a line at the bottom. Now, even with HIV, even if the line is faint, that is the time to rush off and get yourself a proper blood test, because it could just show that the viral load is very low. I think, above all, the fact that this is a negative test, that really is a wondrous thing to see. Above all, it's important to remember that HIV is not a death sentence in this day and age. It's not something that really needs the stigma attached to it, because we have treatments for it now. There was a time when they used some pretty nasty paintbrushes, shall we say, to make the issue a bit more darker than it should have been. But overall, nowadays we actually have ways of dealing with it and managing it. And I think that this could be a very, very effective weapon in our armoury. Taking that test and doing it, it was simple for me to do it. It would be simple for somebody at home to do it. You wouldn't have to go to an STD clinic. Simple finger prick, and you're away. And as I say, it might even be worth having one at home. So if you did have a new partner that you didn't know, you could maybe do a test before you. Well, I'll leave it at that. But if you did want a test, the place to go to is cell-diag.com/shop. On our main cell-diag.com website, you'll be able to find all of the other tests that we do. But this particular one is available on our shop, and we can get it posted out to you so that you can have it at home for testing now, or as I say, putting one aside to test later, so that above all, when you do start that new thing with somebody else, the one thing that you will definitely have is peace of mind.